Hello and what is going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about social democracy and a funny video that I saw, which was, well, a video I would say was very sympathetic to a former, very old German president called Friedrich Ebert. And he is basically he is the average social democrat in my opinion, and he did some really good things and some really awful things. So I think it's a very, very, very good way to talk about the positives and the negatives about social democracy. Obviously, I'm not a social democrat. I have serious criticisms towards it. For one, that it's pro-capitalism. But let's get into the video. Let's talk about it. Just a small funny video that I saw, and I decided that why not show you this to you guys, and let's talk a little bit about social democracy in general. Let's get into it. This is, by the way, just for a little bit of context, this is a former president of Germany. He was the one who took over after World War One.
Ihr Vertrauen wird mir die Kraft geben, immer der Erste zu sein, wenn es gilt, Bekenntnis und Zeugnis abzulegen für den neuen Lebensgrundsatz des deutschen Volkes, für Freiheit, Recht und soziale Wohlfahrt.
In the 21st century, we are confronted with many social problems and new challenges. Social inequality, capitalist aberrations in a digitalized working environment.
This is kind of true, but not in the way that I guess the Social Democrats would think, right?
Lack of trust in the political system, and right-wing forces threatening our democracy. What do we need in 2021 to overcome these challenges? To find an answer to this
Obviously a little bit old, by the way, a few years old, 2 years old.
question, it is worth taking a look at the past. As a key enabler of the First German Republic, Friedrich Ebert is one of the most important figures in the history of German democracy. He was the first German
That is true, but you're about to see some real whitewashing.
president, and thus the head of state of the first German democracy, the Weimar Republic. At that time, the young democracy had to face manifold dangers that poisoned the political climate in the difficult period after the First World War. Ebert succeeded in paving the way for the Republic, defending it courageously. But who was
Defending it courageously. Yes, we'll get into that, if that was true.
Friedrich Ebert, and what values does he stand for today? Friedrich Ebert was born in Heidelberg in 1871 as the son of a tailor. He experienced a typical youth in the milieu of small craftsmen, workers, and day laborers. The situation of the working class in Imperial Germany was characterized by a daily struggle for work and for a secure livelihood. To implement their demands for freedom, equality, and justice, a movement was established
By the way, the Social Democrats during Imperial Germany were pretty based.
under the label of social democracy. In 1878, however, when Ebert was just 7 years old, the anti-socialist law banned all social democratic organizations in the German Empire. Their supporters
Yep, authoritarians don't like, well, any kind of socialists, but a more democratic form of socialism is something that, well, I mean, I guess they don't like any form of socialist. They don't like tankies either, to be honest. Even though they've got a lot more in common with the tankies than with other more democratic socialists, like anarchists.
were arrested by the hundreds, sentenced to prison, and their newspapers banned. Many were expelled from their homes or forced into exile. Friedrich Ebert initially came into contact with the ideals of the workers' movement when he was a journeyman. It was during this time that he became acquainted with social democratic ideas and joined the cause. After the anti-socialist law was repealed in 1890, Ebert moved by some circuitous routes to Bremen, one of the more recent hubs of social democracy, where he soon made a remarkable career in the ranks of the SPD. A few years later, he was finally elected party chairman. The First World War overshadowed the following years, also seeing the
Awful period, by the way.
SPD being torn apart when the Independent Social Democratic Party split off from the majority faction. It was opposed to war loans being granted, a measure which was supported by Ebert and the majority of the SPD. After the end of the war, which was hoped for in the near future, Reforms aiming at greater political and social equality of the workers were planned to be implemented. When the Kiel Sailors' Mutiny of 1918 developed into a nationwide revolution, the Social Democrats categorically demanded the abdication of the German Emperor and
A very good thing, by the way.
the transfer of government. These steps were successful. The revolution sealed the end of the German Empire. On the 9th of November 1918, Chancellor Prince Max von Baden handed over the reins of government to Friedrich Ebert, the SPD chairman. For Ebert, democratic ideals were paramount, and he did everything in his power to convene a national assembly as soon as possible.
By the way, I'm not an expert on this kind of history, okay?
Parliamentary democracy was to pave the way into the new republic.
I'm not saying that I'm stupid, of course, but I don't know what happened at that Congress. I'm sorry. I guess a Congress, right? And I can't really criticize that.
Socialist demands in society and economy were to be implemented on a democratic basis. In this respect,
Social democracy, not democratic socialism. Yeah, it wasn't that good. Don't get like overhyped.
Ebert and the majority of the Social Democratic Party differed from the radical left, which was partly
Radical left.
striving to establish Soviet-style council rule. Ebert's transitional government
Yeah, by the way, a lot of the German far left in this period were tankies. We don't like tankies, remember that? Don't forget about it, okay? We hate the tankies.
was already able to implement comprehensive reforms and secure fundamental rights such as the right of assembly, freedom of expression, and freedom of religion. In addition, the first women
Not biased at all, by the way. We're only mentioning good things here. Like this is like the die-hard social democrat. That's why the title is die-hard social democrat. These people are like you don't find die-hard social democrats that often, you know. Social democrats usually quite. I'll be honest, they're quite weak on their opinions. They don't argue very much, and they're quite well. They kind of they're kind of average, you know. They're kind of the average person, right? And I do respect that. Yeah, I think social democrats should stand up for themselves and stand up for their values, which they're not doing in current society. I'm sorry, but they're not.
women's suffrage in Germany was introduced so that women were able to participate in the first free, secret, and general election of the National Assembly as early as the
Good move, by the way. Respect. That was a good decision to do.
19th of January, 1919. On the 6th of February, Friedrich Ebert gave the opening address at the National Assembly in Weimar, with a sizable number of female MPs in attendance. A few days later, Friedrich Ebert was elected president of the Weimar Republic. With the Weimar Republic, a new political era
Yeah, very stable republic, right, guys?
in Germany was ushered in by Friedrich Ebert. He used his presidential powers to defend democracy against right-wing forces that rejected democratic rule and that left no stone unturned to
Against right-wing forces. We'll get back to that.
overthrow the new government. His conscientiousness earned him both recognition from the political center and contempt from his right-wing nationalist opponents.
Only mentioning nationalist, by the way, not talking about the left-wing opponents. Yeah, we'll get to that. I'm just saying, this guy, what he did to the left. I mean, even if most of them are tankies, what he did to the left, absolutely abhorrent and awful.
The latter blamed the revolution and the workers' movement for the defeat in the war and accused them of having betrayed the fighting soldiers.
Yeah, Nazis. Fuck Nazis. Go die, please. If you're Nazis, well, I hate Nazis so badly that yeah, I wouldn't mind. They just didn't exist whatsoever.
As a representative of the working class and the Republic, Ebert became the main target of a smear campaign.
That was the only reason, right?
Already in poor health and personally deeply affected by the unfounded accusations, Friedrich Ebert finally died of appendicitis in February
Rip hardcore sock them, I guess.
1925. His ideals, however, have lived on.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Today, the Europe-wide rise of far-right parties and rampant populism requires new courage to dare more democracy. With social democracy as our political compass, we can meet these challenges because it champions equal freedom for everyone in society,
Yada, 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 yada.
regardless of origin, gender, and social background.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. It's capitalist, you know? Capitalism. And so if you're born poor, you'll stay poor. Social democracy makes it better to be poor. Doesn't make like being poor not being bad anymore, right? It doesn't fix the issues. It's just like, well, maybe you guys can have it a little bit better. Which, yeah, they do deserve that, but social democracy doesn't go far enough, of course. Anyways,
That is Friedrich Ebert's legacy.
yeah, Friedrich Ebert, man. Funny simp channel, though. You really like that guy. Really like him, okay? Anyways, let's talk about him. What did he do wrong? This is, by the way, the greatest crime of the Social Democratic Party in the history, I think, of the world. Now, there could be greater crimes. You could tell me please down in the comments. But this is one of the worst things a Social Democratic Party has done, and that was employing the Freikorps, a far-right organization of former soldiers, and what they did was abhorrent. Social communists, or more far left, people were trying to advance in the German Weimar Republic, and when they tried to make a revolution, by the way, which is completely stupid, the revolution was a terrible idea. How did you think that you can make a revolution if 10% or 50, if you only got 10 or 50% of the votes? It's not enough, right? But what the Freikorps did, under the order of the Ebert guy, Friedrich Ebert, is kill people. And they killed a lot. This is a whole article. I'd recommend you read it, from the National World War II Museum. But this explains what the Freikorps did. Let me read it for you. Their most infamous victims were the KPD leaders Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg. Rosa Luxemburg was decent. She was like half tanky. I think she was pretty good, you know. Overall, pretty good, but she didn't quite denounce the tanky since she was part of the tanky party. So yeah, I'm not gonna give massive credit, but she was pretty good. Anyways, they were captured by the soldiers of the Guard Rifle Division, Cavalry Rifle Division. And remember, these people were allowed by Ebert, right? And even supported to a degree. Their captors first clubbed them senseless, then shot them for attempting to escape. Perhaps the first use of this characteristic, the 20th century's phrase. Luxembourg was small, physically frail, and suffered from a childhood hip ailment that left one leg longer than the other. It is difficult, to put it mildly, to imagine her trying to escape from a troop of heavily armed soldiers. In a classic gangster style, her killers tossed her body into the icy waters of Berlin's Landwehrkanal. Okay, I can't do Germany, of course. And dumped Liebknecht's body without any identified information on the steps of a local mortuary. These people were fascists, and they were butcherers, and they were employed by social democrats to butcher communists because communists wanted more. So disgraceful. All that about the Friedrich Ebert, now he was so good for democracy. He killed people. He killed people. He employed a fascist military police to butcher, hang, and torture people to death with incessive violence. This is the problem with social democrats. This is the problem, right? They are so obsessed with being in power and with having all that, and they compromise on everything. They compromise on their values. Look, what is a social democrat these days? Well, somebody who stands up for class? No. Somebody who stands up for feminism? Maybe, but that's doubtable. I mean, over half the political spectrum does at this point, so you're not really special, you know? Does it make you better than the left whatsoever? The real left, you know? Not the fake left. So these people, social democrats, well, you see, they are people who mean well, But people like Ebert did some horrible things and killed innocent people, right? This Friedrich Ebert guy, where is he? Let's see. Yeah, well, this guy. He killed people, okay? And this is the thing with social democrats. They're not willing to stamp down, okay? They were brave when the Nazis came to power. They've always been braver than the other capitalist parties, but they never go enough. That's always the problem with them. Social democrats are good, mostly good and empathetic people that we need to appeal to. We need them to be part of our left. That is how we will get massive progress electorally. We need to convince them. We can convince them. It's not impossible. So, I want you to remember that, people. Social democrats are both sometimes are most of the time our biggest friends and sometimes our worst enemies. And yet they just never go enough. There's some real valid criticism there, I think, about social democrats. And if you are a social democrat, I'm not gonna expel you from my channel. You're not a tanky, and you're not a neoliberal, you're not a conservative, so you're welcome, you know? Any socialist is welcome. Though I do think that you should question your ideology and think more about it. Is social democracy really what you want? Do you only want to tackle the sides? Do you only want to go around the point? Do you only want to fine tune the edges? Or do you want to get to the core of the issue? And that's the problem. Social democrats, always great at going around and making the edges look better, but they never fix the core. If it's a dark core, the results will be dark, no matter how much you try to try to improve it, right? If you're only doing the fine-tuning edges, you won't get the problem removed. That's what I have as a message to you, social democrats, and to anyone else in the comments. Do remember this is a good argument against social democrats, the Freikorps. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Srem out.